Perfect. And your host again, Victor, so you can share.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Awesome. So welcome again to DeFi Toronto. This is our team. So Aleem Kamisa, who is not here, but I can't intro him. He's been in the DeFi space and has started DeFi Toronto along with Imran, Victor, and Mark a few years ago now, probably about 5 years ago. So he does work at Element Finance. Imran, who also is one of the startup organizers of DeFi Toronto, is also in the DeFi space, currently doing a lot of freelance work. And then Victor, I'll pass it to you.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. I used to doing traditional finance in pension fund investment for over 20 years. So we start this DeFi Toronto meetup in the fall of 2019. And currently, I'm working as a researcher for a crypto hedge fund called Foreign Capital. And I also teach a course at the University. So I'm very happy to see you all here, and we have some exciting speaker for tonight. So pass back to Sophia.
Nice, thanks, Victor. So I'm Sophia. I'm one of the event planner for DeFi Toronto. I also work at ChainSafe. ChainSafe is a research and development firm that focuses on a few different products. So we have Web3 Unity, which is our gaming SDK, Web3.js, which is files and storage, and then also an interoperability layer. We do work on on multiple blockchains, so on Ethereum, Polkadot, Mina, to name a few. We're in over 30 countries all over the world. There's about 120 of us, so you're probably going to see us at one event or the other. And if you have any questions about ChainSafe, just please reach out to me later or through the chat. And really excited to have all of you guys here. Back to you, Victor.
Okay, so we're gonna move on. So
Great.
Sophia, you want to?
Yeah, for sure. So our agenda for today, just gonna go through it, is as always our DeFi news recap. This is going to be by Victor and Johnson, who some of you guys met earlier. After that, we're going to go into Business Intelligence and DeFi by Thomas from Raid. Very excited about this. Thomas is here from Paris, so it is quite late for him. So very, very thankful to have him here. After that, we'll go into any community announcements that anyone has, or we might switch it around and go to Michael as well. Thank you for being here all the way from Shanghai. So really, really excited to have you here. And it's going to be about SmartPiggies and democratizing finance. So back to you, Victor.
Thank you, Sophia. I love that the graphic of SmartPiggies. It looks so cute, very, very enticing. Yeah. So, and thank you for both our speaker who calling from different continent to join us. Is an awesome opportunity to learn about their company and project. Okay, so let's jump into DeFi news recap. Well, let's start with the bad news. So as everyone knows, we're in the crypto bear market, crypto winter. So there's quite a bit layoff over the last 12 to 16 months. Here, just some more recent announcement. And for example, Chainalysis is lay off 83 people. Protocol Lab, which responsible for developing the Filecoin for IPFS, also lay off 21% of their staff. So it's quite a bit layoff. So we are in definitely some difficult time. So next, and look at that bear market reflect in the price as well. As you can see, that the total crypto market cap was once last year was reached almost $3 trillion US, but now it's just over 1 trillion. So we lost, 2/3 basically the market cap. In terms of Bitcoin's price, it was as high as over 64,000 per Bitcoin. Now it's just around 24,000. It has recovered a little bit, but seems going on a sideways. And Ethereum itself, year to date, it went up about 38%. It's pretty good return, but because the crypto market is very volatile, you really can can be sure whether are we reached the bottom, or are we there's more to drop. So for the next slide, I want to do a little bit opinion poll about what's your view. Do you feel the crypto market is bottom, or is there more price fall to come? So here, so you can just go to slido.com and type in that code 557447. Then we will see your response live right here.
Yep. Alternatively, you can also just use your phone and scan the QR code, and it should come right up as well.
That's great. That's a good point, Sophia. That's easier.
All right, so far we have 10 people participating. See, there's about 26 here, so we can wait a few more minutes to see if people want to join. Nice, that's pretty good. Victor, back to you.
Okay, thank you for everyone participating in this poll. Look like we are still pretty bearish on the market. We'll see whether our prediction consensus is correct or not. Okay. Now, so today we have a big news. Coinbase announced launch a new network, and this network is called Base. It's actually built on top of Ethereum using optimism, the technology to build a new layer network. Presumably, by building as a second layer on top of Ethereum, you provide more scalability similar to other layer 2 scaling solution. Of course, Coinbase is a company, is an enterprise. They need to make profit. So look like they want to make help on adoption of Ethereum adoption, to speed up adoption by allow you build on top of Ethereum, but at the same time your application can with easy access to Coinbase's large base of users, product, and tools. And they also we're using the scaling solution like optimism to lower the cost. So we make a developer too easy to build and run at a lower cost. So it is great. And the most important is open source. So anyone can build on top. You don't need to ask Coinbase permission, which is good. Also, they're not planning to issue a token for this network. They also start an ecosystem fund to selectively invest in any project that built on top of Base if your project meets a certain criteria. Well, related to optimism, Arbitrum, as you probably know, the Arbitrum was a layer 2 scaling solution for Ethereum using optimistic roll-up technology to scale. And interesting is that over the last few days, the daily transaction has really spiked. On the February 21st, 2 days ago, its daily transaction actually slightly higher than the Ethereum's layer 1 transaction. So it's quite amazing what I will be interesting to know, what drive that. Is this related to the Base announcement, which is announced today? So it couldn't be possible related to that. But does anybody know why the Arbitrum, the user transactions spike up so much? Okay, if you know, just type in the chat, and we'll love to hear from you. talking about, let's move on to staking. So as you know that some centralized exchange like Kraken, Coinbase, and Binance, they do offer a staking service. However, the US regulator doesn't like it. They have charged Kraken for a security violation because they believe that by offering staking as a service and you promise their return to the user is type of offering of security. And apparently Kraken agreed and to shut down their staking service in US and pay a penalty of $30 million. For customer outside US, apparently Kraken planning to move those users to a separate subsidiary, so you may still continue the service with Kraken. So that's the recent new regulatory news. And as you from the tape and the chart on the right, you can see that Kraken actually is not the largest staking service in US, even among the centralized exchange. Coinbase is actually even bigger. So far we have not heard that Coinbase has agreed to shut down their business. So that's quite interesting. So we're going to keep eyes on it. But I did some research on to find out what's the news about Coinbase staking service. How are they facing the same scrutiny? Apparently, yes, but they have not agreed to settle. So here's what I find on Coinbase's website. So they argue that their staking service are not securities. They give 4 reasons. One is that the customer doesn't really give up their token in exchange for some kind of return. During the staking service, the customers still have the ownership of the token, in this case, Ether or other token. Number 2 is that the token are staking on a decentralized network. It's not on a common enterprise like a company or single entity. The third reason is that the reward, the staking reward, are not profit from a common enterprise. It is actually a payment for service. So the staker actually offer a service basically to validate the consensus mechanism. So it's a payment for their service, not a profit. And finally, Coinbase say that no, we just offer the service as like an IT service. We just put together the infrastructure so that make customer easy to staking. How much you can earn from the staking, it has nothing to do with us. You are not dependent on our effort to earn more reward or less reward, right? We just provide a platform for you to do the staking. So that's their argument. We'll see whether the regulator, the SEC, buy their argument or not. And in terms of a staked Ether, is continuing to grow. Right now, it's over 16 million of Ether has been staked on the Beacon chain, and it's quite a substantial amount. It's about 14% of all the Ether supply, and it's seems like continue to grow. It's pretty decentralized in terms of number of validators. There's over 500 validators account, and that if you stake right now, you can earn about 3.9% staking yield. And we also heard that you may able to withdraw this. Right now, when you stake, your Ether is locked up. You cannot able to withdraw. Apparently, the Shanghai upgrade to the Ethereum network is coming soon, perhaps even in a few months. And once they have that upgrade, the validator, if they choose to, they can withdraw the Ether. Now, there's a lot of speculation about whether if the enabling withdrawal what's the impact on the Ether price? We will see. And among the decentralized staking service, Lido is the largest one. I would say among decentralized service, Lido probably 80% of market share. And over the last a couple of months since January, and you can see that the Lido, the token, government token, has went up along their revenue. So the Lido is a decentralized platform. So if you stake there, you have to pay a fee to the service provider, which is also decentralized. So by allowing the customer to staking in decentralized way, the Lido service provider will earn a fee, and part of them will share with the token holder. And if you measure the price not in US dollar, in ETH term, the Lido's price actually outperform ETH price. You can see that in the right-hand side, the red chart. Staking yield. Talking about staking yield, there's people. I like to point out the difference between nominal yield with real yield. So when you receive a staking yield, let's say Ethereum 3.9% or Solana 5.9%, it's just a nominal yield. You have to subtract the supply inflation, because the network is issuing new token to pay for your staking service. So by inflating the supply, you actually earn less in the real term. But the unique things is about Ethereum is that because it has the burning mechanism, as more and more users use the Ethereum network, and they will burn big chunk of their transaction fee. So as a result, that the real yield of Ethereum staking yield is actually higher than nominal yield, where the rest of most of the other network actually is the opposite, because they have inflations. In some case, like Solana, like Internet Computer, their inflation is actually higher than the staking reward. So you actually get a negative real yield. Okay, next relate to staking is the release of the Eigenlayer white paper. I'm going to pass on to Johnson, who did quite a good job in explaining to me how does it work. So Johnson, can I pass on to you to talk about next couple of slides?
Sure. Thank you, Victor. Hello, everyone. My name's Johnson. I work in marketing at a crypto ODC that's called Secure Digital Markets, and part-time I focus on like crypto education, especially on my LinkedIn. And my goal from like doing a lot of this crypto education is to like disperse information in like bite-sized nuggets that's easy to understand and is up to date. So without further ado, let's jump into Eigenlayer. Now, Victor covered staking, especially the status of Ethereum staking today. Now, I'd like to take a step back and just explore the question, what is staking? Now, staking is the process of securing Ethereum. Right now, as Victor said, we have about 16.8 million ETH that is securing Ethereum. Now, if the cost of one ETH today is $1,600, that means we have about $27 billion of value that is securing Ethereum. Now, if you are a staker, right, you're essentially providing your capital to secure this blockchain. But once you provide your capital, like once you provide your ETH and stake it, it's just there, it's locked up. You get a return on it. You're doing your duties of staking, but that's about it, right? Now, when we look at Web3, right, which is the ultimate goal, is we want to get people to use apps like Uniswap, like CowSwap, even like NFT, like Blurs, OpenSea. We need them to get into the app layer. Now, all of these apps, they require the blockchain on the underlying blockchain as a ledger to record the transactions. But apart from that, there are all these middle layer services, such as oracles, such as data availability services, things like Chainlink. Even if you just take Uniswap, for example, today, a very popular app, people can swap tokens, right? The transactions may be recorded on Ethereum, but how does Uniswap know that the price of ETH is $1,600? You need a middle service like Chainlink, which tells Uniswap, hey, the price of ETH is $1,600. And why does Uniswap trust Chainlink? That's because there are people who put up capital and secure Chainlink as a service. And they say basically, here's our capital, here's our link, which is a Chainlink token. If the price, and we are telling that the price of ETH is 1,600. If we're wrong, slash our capital, like slash our security. But if you're right, then we get a reward. The same thing goes for Ethereum. People give their ETH, they propose blocks. If their blocks follow the rules of Ethereum, they get a reward. If they don't, if they're a bad actor, the ETH gets slashed. And that's essentially how proof of stake works. But if you have capital, if you're a staker, you are currently today in the position, should I stake Ethereum or should I stake Chainlink or should I stake something else? And EigenLayer essentially is a set of smart contracts on top of the Ethereum staking smart contracts. And what it allows you to do is, with the same capital that you use to stake Ethereum, you can also stake these middle layer services. So if you have, let's say, $1,000 and you put it towards staking Ethereum, you can also use the same $1,000 to staking an Oracle service. And what this does is, when you zoom out, you get this image on the left. Whereas if you take a look at the top, DApp, right? Just imagine this is Uniswap. Now you see that the blue box, Ethereum, that's where the transactions are recorded. But there are also these green boxes, AVS. What that means is active validating services, meaning like services such as Chainlink or other oracles, which provide these middle layer services, but they also require security. Now, for this DApp, now notice the numbers that are securing them. Ethereum is right now in this example on the left, there's $10 billion of value securing Ethereum. For each of the AVSs, that is the middle layer services, there's 1 billion each securing them. Now, altogether, there is about $13 billion of value that is being staked. But how much does it take to hack the DApp? That would be the weakest link, specifically any one of the AVSs which has only $1 billion of capital. If you are able to overcome that, if you are able to manipulate that, you can hack the DApp. And this has in fact happened over the last couple of months. Oracle manipulation has led to a couple of DeFi apps being exploited. But let's move over to the diagram on the right, the EigenLayer paradigm. Now, with that EigenLayer paradigm, you have just $13 billion of capital at stake, securing the whole system. But notice how it works. $13 billion of capital secures Ethereum, but that same $13 billion through EigenLayer secures these active validating services, these oracles, or these any other services, rollups, data availability. I'll come to all the services on the next slide. But when you look at the point of the DApp, right? Let's say Uniswap, for example, if someone wants to hack Uniswap in this second example, they will now have to come up with $13 billion of capital. So in one fell swoop, dApps, middle layer services, all these services in Web3 have so much more security, but people who are providing their capital to providing their security also get a return on their yield. Now, this characteristic is only possible for proof of stake. In a proof of work paradigm, once you do the work, you're securing Bitcoin, you're producing a block, that's it. The work is done. It's gone to waste. You have to do new work to secure next block. But with proof of stake, you can put the same stake in for this service, same stake for the next service, same stake for the service after that. But yeah, for every additional service you stake, you're taking on an additional risk. Because if you screw up in one of the additional services, your stake gets slashed there. But in order to compensate for that risk, you're also getting additional yield. And you're also helping secure the entire infrastructure as a whole. Now, look at the sources of this yield. Where can we restake our capital to get this yield? It could be a data availability layer, rollup, bridge, an oracle. There are even applications for MEV or even other side chains. Polygon, for example. Imagine Ethereum stake, all the stake in Ethereum, also securing the Polygon sidechain. That could be possible through EigenLayer. And EigenLayer very recently dropped its white paper. It is a fantastic read. And I firmly believe that EigenLayer will be a very core primitive in this paradigm and very core, very aligned towards Ethereum. And if you have capital, if you're a staker, you have to stay up to date on this primitive.
Thank you.
Over to you,
Johnson.
Victor.
Appreciate. Let's move on so that our speaker can, our guest speaker to start. Quickly, some news from Toronto. So Ether Capital, which is a Toronto-based company, is testing their staking dashboard. So it looked like they're going to offer as a service to company to encourage people to company business to participate in the DeFi space. And for individual, they may be thinking about either a free version or a cheaper version. So we'll see, and I hope to invite them to speak to our community in the future meetup. So stay tuned. Okay, given the time constraint, I'm going to skip about this opinion poll. I was planning to ask you to see do you are more bullish on proof of work or proof of stake? But given time constraint, I'm going to stop here and then pass back to Sophia for introduce our first speaker.
No problem. I can actually put the poll in the chat and the Slido link. So during the next speaker or whenever you guys want, we can actually come back to this poll at the end of the meetup later. So before we get to the next speaker, I'm just going to introduce him. Very excited about this, and I'll actually give Michael just host capabilities before we do that. Okay, actually, we're going to do, Thomas is going to go first, so you can be host. Perfect. Sorry. Okay, and give me 1 second. Sorry, guys. Okay, so in the chat. Perfect. So our next speaker is Thomas. Thomas works at RaidSquare. I just dropped the link of RaidSquare just in the chat just now. So Thomas has over 5 years of experience in blockchain technology, protocol architecture, and cryptocurrencies. He co-founded RaidSquare, which is a risk mitigation company for blockchain stakeholders, with two of his co-partners, Sebastian Martin and Esteban Lopez. As an entrepreneur, he's created a statistical calculation algorithm for bookmakers, contributed to several blockchain projects on their protocol architectures, and he's also helped to raise funds and has given a lot of strategic advice. Thomas is an agile, fast learner who adapts to new technologies, and with a macro perspective and an interest in architecture and cybersecurity issues, he loves to participate in building the models of Toronto. So I'm going to give it up to Thomas, and we're really excited to hear about RaidSquare.
Thank you, Sophia, for the introduction. So as you said, I'm coming from France. So the first thing I will say is sorry for my French accents. And I will not speak as fast as you all are, but I'll try my best, and I promise that. I can see in the chat that there is some bonsoir, so thank you very much. I'm going to talk today. Maybe I can share my screen. Am I allowed to share my screen with the?
Yes, go ahead. You have capabilities now.
Yeah, I'm trying. Normally it should work. Let me know if it's working on your side.
No, we can't see anything.
No, it's not working. Okay.
I can share if you want. If you want to send me something, let me know.
Yes. Where can I send you a PDF?
Just to
LinkedIn.
you can. Yeah, actually, you can put it in the chat, or you can email me.
Okay.
There you go.
Can you drop your email in the chat so I can
Yeah.
easily send it to you? Okay, thank you.
While Sophia and Thomas setting up their slide, there's any community announcement, if you're starting a new project, you're hiring, you have any news, any event you want to announce, that you can take this time to make your announcement.
You should receive it normally. It's have you sent.
You sent it? Okay.
Yep.
I don't think I've received it yet.
So while you receive it, I'm going to introduce Red Square and what we are doing. So then I will go back to the subject. So I probably co-founded Red Square with two other partners, and we basically provide risk mitigation services for the Web3 space, mainly in Europe for the moment, thanks to our partner. We have a strategic partnership with Avisa Partner. And they are one of the biggest business intelligence private company in Europe. And we are working with them to develop the Web3 part of the business. We are two separate entities working together in order to build this, let's say, coalition in Europe and help projects with the trouble that they could face regarding going to the Web3 space. Did you receive it?
Yeah, can you see my screen?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's good. So I'm going to talk today about the critical role of the business intelligence in DeFi. And for those who don't know about business intelligence, I will summarize it by saying that it's a process to collect and make the analysis of the data and information that you can have all around your business, including the securitization of it. That could be through the cybersecurity part, but also to the compliance and legal parts. And specifically in DeFi, we have this thing that is going to be a major part of the discussion that people will have in the next future, which is how we combine the regulation and all the things that we already know in the traditional financial part of this ecosystem with the DeFi, and how we can onboard the next, let's say, generation of user. And at Red Square, we truly believe that business intelligence is for us the bridge to bring the DeFi to the mass market. So on that, can you please go to the next slide? Thank you very much. So basically, I was wanted to be the most summarize in my talk regarding those subjects, and I've put up to 4 to 5 bullet points, resuming what I was thinking about the key information. So the role of the business intelligence, you have the 4 bullet points there. Basically, it's going to be about having the access to the data of the protocol that you are creating if you are a builder, or using if you are let's say a user of the space. But let's say the space is built around 4 main points. So first one is going to be about the decentralization, but it's really a tech discussion, and for the final user, at the end of the day, it will not really matter if we build on that chain or that chain. As we today use internet, you don't really know how most of the people don't really know how internet is working, and in the next future they will probably don't care about which blockchain they are using and which protocol they are using. They will want to have a way to access DeFi and all those protocol without having to care about the technical part. So decentralization is a subject that is going to be mainly for people that are building the protocol, and not really for people that want to use the protocol, if we speak about a global point of view. The second big thing is the transparency, which is why DeFi is currently existing. And because we wanted to bring more transparency into, let's say, against the traditional finance space. Then there's the trust, and the trust will be the way for us to grow outside of the DeFi community and Web3 community. And this is where business intelligence is helping DeFi to get better, in a way that with the data that we have on chain, and that we can link to other type of data that we could have regarding the different tools that we are using, we will be able to, let's say, explain more accurately some action that could happen regarding the different user, and also explain to the regulation how those things are working, and make this space and the protocol more safe using the data. So can you maybe pass to the next one? Safia? I don't know if it's me. Is it good? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah,
We can hear you.
I'm on use cases. Is that right? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I think I'm a bit rugging, but maybe it's on my side.
No problem. Did you want to be on slide 3 out of 5 use cases?
Oh. Yes. Use cases is good. So the main points, and on that I'm going to ask people if there is any question about this thing, or any example that they would have on the on-site, because I was planning to make this intervention more as an exchange with people than me talking alone. This is the 4 major point that we see with the different services that we provide, and they're all about risk management, fraud detection, the market analysis, and the customer insights. So of course we all know different tools, but for example, on the risk management part for the development, there is the most common one that people are using, such as chain analysis. That could be also for the development part, OpenZeppelin and stuff like that. So it's the kind of tool that most of the people are using, but they are not really So I'm trying to find a good word. They need to be more simple to use and simple to understand for people outside the space. And for example, we have those problem when we go to an investigation, unchained investigation for a fraud or for someone that have been scammed, and we try to explain the judge here, for example, in France, how we managed to find the information using chain analysis, or how we've been able to find a way to recover the fund thanks to a smart contract that was not correctly built. And this is what happened a few months ago. We successfully recovered $600,000 that was stuck into hold an old protocol. And thanks to a smart contract, thanks to the smart contract that wasn't really built well, we successfully managed to recover the phone for the users. So regarding the fraud detection, there's also some tools that people can use to try to detect some attacks before. And we are currently developing something internally to help projects to detect an attack or fraud in the protocol, mainly based on Ethereum and EVM compatible protocol. That will be helpful for projects that want to have a ongoing monitoring on their protocol, and let's say having an ongoing I don't know how to say surveillance in English, but maybe it will be monitoring once again, an ongoing monitoring for the activity they have on their own protocol. On the rest, market analysis, I think we all know the tools for us to use market analysis. So on that, I'm not going to develop. And this will be more on the customer insights that we will have the biggest challenge in the next future. Because for the moment, no one is really knowing who is using the protocol, because we are all hide behind wallets, or for the one that wants a domain on Ethereum, for example. And I don't know if Coinbase, for example, is going to do that on the chain, but the idea of having something that could be a mix between a total decentralization without KYC and stuff like that, and something that could be more regulated and helping to make the bridge between let's say traditional DeFi space and protocol, but also giving a way for governments or for regulation entity to have a deeper look and deeper understanding thanks to the KYC, let's say also a deeper control, because this is at the end of the day what they want to have. Could be something interesting. So we will certainly see some protocol or some project that will try to make a bridge between the fully decentralized protocol, and by helping people that want to use it as a regulated point of view to use it by doing KYC and, let's say, telling the regulation that they are using, for example, Uniswap or a few others, and providing the ID card and stuff to prove that they are the one that made those transactions and they can pay the taxes on those things. I know that there is some project that are already building some tax tools for DeFi protocol. I'm not saying that this is my conviction on that. I'm just saying that this is what is currently ongoing with what we see here in Europe, in the fact that people that want to go the more global have to deal with the regulation if they want to attract new people that are not really already in the space. Can you please pass to the next one? Thank you. So best practice and best practice in implementing business intelligence in DeFi is something that is more related to the project himself and not something that is a general truth. Because depending on the way the protocol is built, there is sometimes not real way possible to implement tools because of the tech design himself. But it will be a choice for the project and for the protocol that want to have something that is hybrid. There will be some things to integrate. That could be wallet management, wallet screenings and stuff like that. That would be publicly reported to the entity that are in charge of the regulation in the country of the different user. And this is certainly a way for DeFi to grow and mix himself with the traditional financial world. So I'm opening a conversation on that, and I'll be happy to have the vision of the people that are with us and discuss about do you think that including that kind of tools and services to mix between traditional DeFi without any KYC and let's say identity tracking and mixing that with something that could be allowing people to KYC themselves or KYB if they are a business and use DeFi tools by telling the different government about the one that they are in charge with and pay the taxes. I don't know if people can directly speak with the microphone or if they have to type something. Safia?
I can ask a question.
Yeah, people can
on
ask.
that.
Yeah, okay. Okay,
So
go for it.
in Europe, like you have the data privacy laws, right? The GDPR.
Mhm.
Now, I'm assuming that for someone like for many people like who like on-chain data is definitely public. So if you're working with on-chain data, you could kind of decipher like the identity of users, and because like it's all public. But if I recall correctly, you said something about you're building some internal tools, and whether do you have like access to other ways of figuring out identity of users? What are the implications in terms of like data privacy there, like for non-public data?
I mean, it's more about using OSINT methods in order to group information and make the links and the probability of the links between different, for example, address or action that could have been done on chain, but also off chain. I'm going to give you a concrete example. We had an investigation ongoing for someone that was stolen around a few million, let's say. And the problem was we was only having an Ethereum address. So the main point was how we can find someone that is hiding behind this address without knowing anything more than that. So most of the time the mistake is coming from the human and not really from the blockchain itself. So we had to group the information, and we managed to find who that guy was thanks to a mistake he made, because he linked 2 different wallet address by sending Ethereum to pay the gas fees with one of the address that he used to to transfer some crypto, and this one was linked to a Twitter account, and this Twitter account was linked to identity, and then we successfully find his name in real life identity using that that kind of thing. But it's really hard to do in the manual point of view. So this is the kind of thing that could be let's say optimized by having a tool that is automatically trying to find with the open source research method the information on the internet and stuff like that. And I can see that it's like a rookie mistake, and I agree with that, but most of the people that are doing things are making mistake, and sometimes it's just something that is a detail for them, but at the end you catch them with that.
I think Charles has a question as well, or he has his hand up. So go ahead, Charles.
Yeah. Hey, Thomas, thanks for sharing the information. I think this is helpful. And I believe lately there is a very hot topic in the AI and the machine learning industry, and it's called ChatGPT. And would like to get your opinion that, like, will this ChatGPT be helpful in this business intelligence process?
For the moment, ChatGPT is not enough. Is not enough for people because the information are not up to date, and you cannot ask him complex things. For example, he cannot link different information that are currently going on, and you only have things in the past. So it's more tools that you can use to maybe write something on my, but I'm not really up to date with those things for the moment, because as it's not connected to the internet, for me, for the moment, it's not something that we can daily use on those things. But I think that in the next future, when we will have something that is connected to the internet, and that is, or even to the blockchain, that would be a really powerful tools that most of the human will not be able to compete against. But I think it's a really generic answer saying that. But I mean, if you want to type something on Google today, it's 10 times faster typing that on ChatGPT. So if you want to maybe know in the future the link between two addresses, and you just provide ChatGPT or another IA to Ethereum addresses, and you say, hey, give me all the link between those two, and he go on chain and try to find the link between, he giving you a probability score, that would be a killer feature.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thomas, do you have any client that is more well known in the DeFi space? If you can share.
Not really, not really, to be honest. For two main reasons. First one, we only have few clients that we talk about, and they are the one that we are sharing the information on our social media. And the second one is because Red Square himself is pretty young right now. It's only about less than a year that we exist on the markets. So the clients that we was having was more on the traditional finance space. And if you go on the Avisa website, for example, if we talk about the common offer that we have with them, they work with most of the CAC 40, for example, in France, and most of the major company in Europe. So we are at the beginning of the journey. We have connection with some business intelligence tools, such as the wallet management tools that we all know. wallet provider and stuff like that. And we are more in the phase of where we are setting up those connection and tools to bring together this common offer than the rest for the moment. I hope that I'm clear with my answer.
Thank you. Sophia, should we move on?
Yeah, for the rest,
Yeah, does anyone else have any other questions, or we're good? Great. So I guess if you do want to, reach out to Thomas. Thomas, thanks for providing your info. We can also drop this in the chat as well, and then go from there. Thomas, thanks so much for your presentation. Really, really appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Nice. Does anyone else have any community announcements to share or anything? No. Nice. I did see a few people introducing themselves and just about like open job positions. You can check out ChainSafe careers. We do have quite a few positions open right now. We are a team of 120 and we are still looking to scale up. So please check out ChainSafe careers. I'll drop a link in the chat. So with that, I'm going to actually pass on host to our next speaker, Michael, and I will intro him. All right. Mike, are you able to share your screen? You're on mute.
There we go.
Nice. Okay, sweet. I will just let you guys know who Mike is. So Michael Reif is the founder of SmartPiggies, which is an innovative protocol that enables anyone to create and trade NFTs that protect against any asset, product, or service and price fluctuations. He has over 10 years of experience in investment banking and risk management. He also holds a master's degree in quantitative finance from Rutgers, and he is passionate about democratizing access to financial derivatives and empowering users with more control over their assets. I've actually seen Michael pitch SmartPiggies before, and I'm very, very excited for this. So go ahead, Michael. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Sure. Good. Thank you, Sophia. So today I will be presenting SmartPiggies non-fungible options. This is a DeFi NFT project. A SmartPiggy is a non-fungible token that encapsulates an option contract. Each SmartPiggy NFT is a smart piggy bank into which a user deposits stablecoins and is smart enough to pay out like an option contract. Buyers of SmartPiggies receive secure digital assets that encapsulate option contracts, whereas sellers of SmartPiggies earn revenue by selling NFTs. An important feature to note is that SmartPiggies have no centralized market. There is no SmartPiggies exchange. Each SmartPiggy is smart enough to sell itself via a Dutch auction. Anyone who is in the business of selling options can create a SmartPiggy and immediately market for auction. Anyone who is looking to purchase a SmartPiggy can look at the network and buy one that is available. If a suitable SmartPiggy is not available, anyone can create a request for Piggy, fillable by anybody. Wherever SmartPiggies is deployed, the base network itself becomes a global OTC options trading facility available to everyone, everywhere for anything. For anyone who is unfamiliar, options are a very simple type of insurance. An option contract pays out if the price of an asset crosses a specified strike price. So for example, imagine you own a business that consumes oil. You might want to buy an insurance contract that would compensate you beyond your critical price point. SmartPiggies are over-the-counter options. OTC options are direct financial agreements between a private buyer and seller. Retail options are generally only available for highly liquid underlyings, whereas OTC agreements can be for anything. An OTC seller is effectively providing an insurance policy directly to the buyer. Like any insurance policy, it is a service that is paid for, it lasts a certain amount of time, and terms are negotiable. So now you might be asking, why are SmartPiggies non-fungible? Insurance contracts are fundamentally non-fungible. Consider your car insurance. Your insurance contract is a unique agreement specific to you, hence non-fungible. Additionally, direct financial agreements are the genesis of all financial product markets. All products start as custom arrangements. Over time, the most popular products become standardized, commodified, and sold to retail clients for profit, but direct non-fungible deals are the foundation of all markets and will always exist, especially for non-retail or illiquid products. Why build a global OTC options market? Well, firstly, OTC options are a common type of financial agreement for which a market already exists. Even though it is accessible to only a fraction of the world's population, the market value of OTC derivatives traded annually is measured in the trillions. Secondarily, it is doable today. OTC options are a simple form of insurance that can be implemented on-chain today, usable for real-world purposes by real-world businesses. The only necessities are smart contracts, stable tokens, and oracles. Thirdly, it's natural for any financial system to develop financial contract markets. This should also be true for decentralized financial systems. So then, what does SmartPiggies do better than the traditional banking system? With the traditional system, counterparties need to be in the same banking and legal jurisdiction. The reality is that the world is divided into jurisdictions, and many counterparties simply cannot interact with each other. Furthermore, traditional financial agreements require high-quality banking and legal systems in order to guarantee execution, and access to such systems is simply not universal. By eliminating the need for sophisticated and costly banking and legal structures, SmartPiggies is establishing a secure global OTC market that is available to everyone. This means that with SmartPiggies, regardless of wealth status or location, individuals and small businesses can hedge their price risks in underserved markets, and institutions and hedge funds can securely engage with any counterparty for any underlying without needing pre-established legal and financial relationships. Our platform is not doing anything particularly new from a financial product perspective, but the underlying technology does allow for a vastly larger user base and deal spectrum that just wasn't possible before. So if you have to take anything away from this, SmartPiggies is what investment bankers do for rich people, but for everyone. So if you've seen the movie The Big Short, Michael Burry goes into Goldman Sachs and to do a deal for credit default swaps on tranches of mortgage-backed securities. Only banks like Goldman Sachs can do this because they have the infrastructure, regulatory, banking, and legal structures and money to do so. With trustless decentralized networks, we can enable people to do their own deals with anyone. So then the summary of where we are today is we have deployed our stable version 1 contracts. It's on Polygon, testnet, and mainnet. We have a complete working backend, front-end application, documentation, and we rolled out a NFT fundraising platform last year. Just to dig a little deeper into how the smart contracts work and how it executes, is that every SmartPiggy uses an oracle as a service. So SmartPiggy contracts execute based on prices provided by oracles. So any asset can be an underlying as long as there is an oracle that provides prices for it, right? So SmartPiggies are designed so that they can adapt to any oracle service. Right now we're using Chainlink, but it's more just like as an initial MVP kind of testing in production. But the contracts are structured so that there is a Oracle resolver contract that communicates between our contracts and whatever Oracle you choose. And we've also have made the contracts able to accept payment in case the oracles require any payment. So for example, Chainlink might require link tokens. Our contract will support paying your oracle in their token of choice. But since in order to talk to oracles, users have to set up oracle resolvers, we are going to establish our own oracle resolver market so that anyone can be allowed to act as an oracle resolver service provider. And in order to decide which ones are trustworthy or worth using, we will need to establish a token curated staking system to surface high quality providers and punish incorrect Oracle resolver providers. However, I think as was discussed earlier in the news section, maybe, or oracles fail all the time. Oracles can potentially fail for technical reasons. They can become compromised, be malicious, be retired. We've seen it happen in some cases while we've been building our project. So SmartPiggies users have the option of electing an arbitrator, an arbitration provider that can step in should an oracle fail to perform. So every SmartPiggy can optionally use arbitration as a service. If an arbitrator is selected, then both parties must either implicitly or explicitly agree on the assignment, because it gets assigned when the SmartPiggy is created, or if the two counterparties can come to agreement, if they both assign the same arbitrator that the same account, then that account will become the arbitrator. And once an arbitrator is assigned, the arbitrator may agree with either counterparty or decline participation. If the arbiter agrees with either one of the counterparties, then the contract will settle at the agreed price. So, like with oracles, SmartPiggies will need to establish its own arbitration market. So anyone will be allowed to act as an arbiter. And we will, of course, need to also create a token curated staking system so you know which arbitrators to trust. However, if an arbiter becomes corrupt, then we will have a mechanism in place for an ultimate resolution to punish an arbitrator by going through a decentralized court system. And right now we're looking at Kleros. So then you might be asking, well, how does the platform collect money or generate revenue? Right now, if a SmartPiggy NFT is purchased, currently 0.5% of the sale price goes into a community pool, governance pool. And if a SmartPiggy NFT successfully transfers a payout to its holder, currently 0.5% of the payout, then that will also go into the governance pool. So the idea is anytime you win, you successfully sell a product and you collect a premium, or if you win and your contract pays out, then a portion of those winnings go into this governance pool. So the idea with our SmartPiggies economy is that users will pay fees to oracles and arbitrators, right? And a portion of those oracle and arbitrator fees will get redirected into a curation market, right? That will reward stakers for curating the market. And then those fees paid to the platform that we were talking about the last slide will go towards platform development and also to stakers that provide governance. So that's where we are. So right now we're looking for seed funding. So far we've been self-funded. So if there are any VCs out there, or if you know any, hit me up at mike@smartpiggies.com. And if you're interested in learning more, you can check out our website at smartpiggies.com. So that was SmartPiggies. But since this is a DeFi community, I figured I'd talk a little about why I personally think DeFi is such a huge opportunity, and dive a little bit into what I think might be driving the conflict with regulators. This is my kind of first shot at this kind of talk. So if anybody has any feedback, very welcome. So the typical refrain for DeFi is something like this, right? By providing access to financial services, DeFi eliminates the need for third-party intermediaries. This means that users can access services such as loans and insurance without the time and money associated with traditional financial institutions. Furthermore, DeFi offers users a high degree of autonomy, allowing people to participate in the financial system without sacrificing their privacy or personal data. Ultimately, DeFi is a powerful tool for financial inclusion and economic empowerment, which is great and fine, and all of us here, we all get it. But when we talk to outsiders, what I just said sounds like a lot of maybe bullshit and buzzwords, right? So I'd like to try to drill down and really nail down why I think DeFi is such a vast opportunity, and at least the way I see it. So firstly, let's really define DeFi, because I don't want to get railroaded into defending something that we really, that I'm actually not trying to defend, like FTX or something, right? The key word for decentralized finance is, well, decentralized, right? Unfortunately, decentralization exists on a spectrum, and I think the basic test is, can the platform continue to operate exactly as it did if the entire management team got hit by a bus? You might think so, but for a lot of platforms, they really aren't that decentralized, right? Because any platform that uses a JSON RPC or WebSocket API service, right? You know, they might be paying for that in Fura, right? And that payment is as a point of centralization, right? If you're cloud hosting your dApp on AWS, right, you're centralized on AWS, and you know that could get shut down, right? I see a lot of projects that take the funds directly and manage the funds for users. That's bad, right? If they control funds. Then there's emergency funds rescue mechanisms, upgradable contracts, order matching, price quotes, product listing controls. Some projects are even selling products themselves, which is also kind of like a no-no. You're basically a business at that point, right? And the problem is that every point of control or centralization is a potential for attack, a way to steal funds or manipulate users. Points of control are the fundamental reason why we have regulation and regulators in traditional finance, because anyone who is in a position that can influence where the money ends up, or even who sees what, has some amount of ability to do bad things. And a lot of platforms aren't truly decentralized. I think most aren't, although I do think Bitcoin and Ethereum are close, if not already fully decentralized. So my point would be, it's hard to build a decentralized platform, but looking at Bitcoin and Ethereum, we can see that it is possible. And every day I see new projects in tech that should make it possible to create truly decentralized projects. I don't think we're quite there yet, but we're on our way. To be clear, projects built on decentralized architecture aren't automatically decentralized, right? Everything from the smart contracts to the infrastructure needs to be explicitly designed to be outside of any one entity's control. Otherwise, it won't be, because it's almost always easier to do things in a centralized way. So let's fast forward a couple of years and assume the tech is decentralized and relatively bug-free. When we get to this decentralized nirvana, what's different? But before I can get to that, I need to talk about what the financial industry looks like today, right? In terms of people, we have average people who deposit their income, have credit cards, save for retirement, take out mortgages and loans. Then you have the financial industry, investment bankers, traders, accountants, lawyers, auditors, developers, regulators, all of the buildings, computers, and other infrastructure that supports them. And I'm not just talking about investment banks, but also commercial banks, central counterparty firms, auditing firms. These are all intermediaries that are involved in making the financial industry work. So, and what do all of these people do? All of this expense, it all goes towards managing our money, and we pay them to do that, right? We pay them a lot to do that, and you might ask why, right? So in terms of like why we pay for all of this infrastructure, right? I really like how Michael Saylor describes money, right? Money is really just a convenient way to store our life energy. We give companies our time and energy to produce goods and services, not for fun, but to receive money, which is effectively a record of the life energy we sacrifice, as opposed to spending time with our friends and family or self-improvement, which most of us would rather do, right? So our money, this record of sacrificed life energy, is really valuable. And as a record-keeping device, we desperately need it to be secure and accurate, right? That's why we give our money to the financial industry, because we trust the people, systems, and processes that control how money is created, tracked, and transmitted, right? It's actually incredibly important. If you think about it, our entire lives depend on our financial system. From building the cars we have, to the houses we live in, the electricity that powers our home and devices, the grocery store we go to, the food that's in it, right? By and large, a functional financial system has a great deal to do with making all of these things exist and affordable. So anyway, we need our financial industry to be safe, secure, and trustworthy, partly because all of our life, it controls all of our life energy, but also it is the bedrock upon which our civilization is built upon. Therefore, it needs to be regulated. This is where the regulatory and legal system comes in, right? And when it comes to financial regulators, a lot of people think of them as police, and that's not really accurate, right? The way regulators work is that they enlist companies to enforce their requirements. And the requirements are not always hard rules, they can be quite vague. Roughly, don't do business with bad people and report anything suspicious to us, right? And what exactly is bad and suspicious and how you do it is more or less left up to the companies themselves. But if the way the companies do it aren't sufficient or the regulators aren't happy with it, the punishments can be arbitrarily severe. So companies tend to go overboard. Hence the shadow bans that get put in place for unfavored industries that aren't illegal, but tend to be treated by banks as if they are. But now or soon, we will have decentralized finance, which eliminates intermediaries. So you can kind of see who might have a problem with this, right? There are right now a lot of intermediaries, very highly paid intermediaries. But with DeFi and DeFi systems, they are no longer necessary for some types of transactions, right? And then there are regulators who are the regulators who are used to drafting intermediaries to enact their will, right? But now there are no intermediaries. But so this diagram expresses why true DeFi fundamentally can't comply with standard, typical, current regulations. It's just that there is no intermediary, right? In order to comply with a local regulator, intermediaries would need to be created, right? Regulators typically rely on intermediaries to do KYC, AML, halt transactions, reverse transactions, seize funds. But truly decentralized platforms can't really do these things because not having intermediaries is the whole point, right? Decentralized ledgers are fundamentally slower and more expensive than centralized databases, but the benefit you get from using them is the elimination of intermediaries. It doesn't happen automatically, right? So, but a carefully constructed DeFi platform, we believe, and I believe, can be trustless and truly decentralized. If it is, then a lot of the core reasons to have regulations kind of fall away. If regulations are in place to ensure fairness and orderly markets, then a properly designed DeFi system can cryptographically guarantee fairness and order. And then the question becomes, well, do we really need regulations for that, right? So yeah, we have a lot of work to do in DeFi. We all need to build our platforms, work through all of the bugs and hacks. We need to really, truly decentralize everything. And if we do this, while I don't think the traditional financial industry will go away, but we will have a DeFi industry that can do a lot of similar things, but in a way that is available to everyone without all of the tremendous traditional costs and without the regulatory control failures. So yes, the traditional financial system works, but I think true decentralized finance can do better. All right. Okay, that was it for me.
Question. Thank you, Michael. So from your perspective as a developer of a SmartPiggy, what do you see the major hurdle? What are the top 1 or 2 hurdle that that has been slowing down the adoption of decentralized finance?
Well, I think decentralization is tough. Actually, when I started SmartPiggies, I thought this would be like a relatively simple project, right? Because it's options, right? All you need is stable tokens, an Oracle price, and a smart contract, and you think it would work. But then, as we've been building it, we realized, oh, we need oracles, we need arbitrators. Oh, like, how do people find these oracles and arbitrators? And then, like, if you have this misbehaving arbitrator, like, how do you decide whether they're misbehaving, and how do you do this all in a decentralized way, right? So I think part of it is it's actually, at least from my perspective, it's been really hard to well, it's going to take a lot of effort to decentralize everything, and also decentralize the hosting services, right? There are some projects that will do decentralized hosting, right? Where the DAO itself can pay for the hosting, and we wouldn't be. So from a technical perspective, this true decentralization is a lot of work. And then I guess I would say what's also been slowing us down, but not really, but what has been slowing us down is fear of regulators, I would say, right? So we can't launch an MVP with some like centralized aspects and advertise it for use, because clearly these are our securities, and I'm a US person. And I think it's also made it a little hard to raise funds from certain sources, because they are worried about the regulatory environment. Because I mean, I've talked to some other founders in the space that have gotten hit with SEC investigations, and it really does kill your project, right? Like, well, first of all, like, you're worried about going to jail, so all of your time and resources go into dealing with the SEC, and then it's really hard to raise funds from an investor if you're raising money just to pay lawyers, right? So that's part of it. But also, what I said, it's a problem, but also kind of not really a problem, in the sense that I think this regulatory aggression is actually pushing the industry to become more decentralized, right? So, and people see this and they decide, okay, we'll do it decentralized and anonymous, right? And I think that's probably the right thing to do anyways. So
Thank you, Michael. I think Lawrence, you have a question? We have
Yeah, thanks. Hey, Michael, great presentation. Really like what you've been doing. It's awesome. So, and I'm a big fan, obviously, of financial inclusion and banking the unbanked. The one thing I would suggest maybe is to have maybe an area, and you talked about it a little bit, is really around the KYC component, and which then lends itself to SSI, self-sovereign identity. That's just something that it's a hard one to ignore, because you need to have some assurances some way that you're not involving Russians and selling oil to fund wars and stuff like that. So you got to have there needs to be a mechanism through self-sovereign identity that you don't need to know who the person is, but at least there's been some way that they've been checked, that it's a person that should be people should be transacting with. I think it's a tough, like you said, there's a lot of tough problems here you're dealing with, but that's one that I think is you should probably put that on as well. And there are although it's early days, but self-sovereign identities is one of them, where people can, register their identity, and don't have to give it away, but then they can have credentials. And so then when people are trading with that, they know that that's a person that they can actually be doing business with. Otherwise, you don't know who's on that other side of that trade, and the platform and the person could get in trouble if they're dealing with people that are terrorist organizations or other stuff like that. So anyway, so that's just my only comment, but it's a tough one. I'm not saying it's easy, but everything else, great idea.
Yeah, I think when I'm not sure if it's in our latest iteration of the contracts, but when we first started, we did put in a whitelist with the idea that, you might have a set number of people that you only want to do business with, or only want to do trading with, or do a contract with. So only those people would be able to be a counterparty to you. I mean, on the topic of KYC, AML, I would say I think there are lists on chain of like OFAC. I think it's an OFAC list on chain that somebody put up there. So you can put your contract on it, and it would stop. And you could program your contract to not interact or just fail if it interacts with something on that OFAC list. But I think it's more of like well, first of all, I mean, I don't think this is effective, really, because just move your assets to a different address.
It's hard to say. I agree. It's a can of worms, but it is something that, as you mentioned, like the regulators are going to do. That's one area that they're going to be concerned about, and it's just something. And also the consumers of the product. Also, I don't want to deal with a terrorist. I don't want to deal with so it's. I don't have the answers. I'm just raising it. It is a challenge, and that's kind of why we're all here, to solve some of these tough challenges. So I'm not expecting you to answer the question. I'm just pointing out that is something that you may need to dive in a little bit too. That's all.
Right. Yeah. I would expect that, to the extent that it was something that was a thing, and if it was effective somehow, I would expect that it would be built directly into wallets. Right. So, if you are like a US person and you're under a lot of scrutiny, and you really, really, really want to be able to like put your money onto Coinbase, and they won't work with you otherwise, then you might have like a wallet or a Coinbase wallet that inspects every transaction and matches it up against a global blacklist that so that it would stop you as a customer from interacting with any, probably a lot of DeFi. But then, once you're done doing all of your trades, then at the end of the day, Coinbase could comfortably accept your transactions, I imagine. Or they could just go to Thomas, right? And say, and they can say, well, tell us which customers we should sanction and kick out of our platform.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Good presentation. Thanks very much.
James, you have a question?
Yeah, I think that Aave did something for doing like institutional clients, if that's something that you're interested in looking at as a route for early clients. Because if they're institutions, you probably have more availability of what you can do than just dealing with the general public. And Aave had basically isolated it to only institutional clients. They can't even access the network if they're not on that whitelist. But yeah, your product's interesting. I tried using options contracts on chain a few years ago, and it's definitely a space that needs more work. So it's good to see people working on this.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little tough. Yeah, I mean, the other projects that I've seen in this space are kind of aren't doing. They're not. I don't think I've seen many people or any people doing like NFT, OTC custom agreements. But I have seen a couple, like, Bitcoin options, Ethereum options. I mean, the real challenge with options, especially like retail options, like I would argue that OTC options, and I think I kind of try to push it in the presentation, that it's really more like insurance. So I'm not sure we fall in the same like bucket as the retail Ethereum and Bitcoin options, but the real challenge with options is liquidity, right? So for any given underlying, you have an infinite range of maturities and an infinite range of strike prices. So, and if you want to have a liquid market, you need liquidity for this incredibly large range of securities, right? So if you look at Ether, there might be like 100 or 200 combinations of maturities and strike prices, and you need liquidity for all of them, and that's really hard to do. It's a little easier if you're a centralized platform and you're putting in your own liquidity. But yeah, for decentralized platforms, it's a little tough. It's a little tough, especially like the centralized power platforms have the benefit of centralization, and it's like really easy to have a lot of liquidity and flow, and even if it's not like real. Any other questions?
Thank you, James. Michael, I have a question. So there's another option trading, decentralized option trading protocol called Open, OPYN. They use ERC20 token. You use NFT, which is very different. So could you explain to me, why they can use fungible token, but you need to use non-fungible token? I know that you say that the option contract by definition is very non-fungible, but why? How come that platform using fungible token?
Okay, so I'm more familiar with Open version 1. I think they've since pivoted to Squeef, which is like I don't know. It's like extra volatile Ethereum. But so for version 1, let me just think out loud here. For version 1, what they were doing was they were kind of doing real options, in the sense that if you were you could enter an agreement. Well, you could put Ethereum in the contract, and you could enter into an agreement to at some point in the future trade X amount of USDC for Ethereum, right? Or you could put USDC in a contract, and at some point in the future you could exchange a certain amount of Ethereum for that USDC. So these were real options, in the sense that they were physical assets, right? And then they kind of tokenized it with ERC20s, and they took those ERC20s and then put them on Uniswap, right? And used Uniswap to make the markets, right? And provide the liquidity. And then the SEC called the Uniswap out, and then Uniswap had to delist all of the ERC20 tokens, even though they're decentralized. But they did it. So I guess one thing is, well, they weren't able to trade on Uniswap, right? Their ERC20 tokens. And then the other is that they're doing real options while we're doing cash settled options. So what happens with SmartPiggies is USDC goes into the SmartPiggy bank. The SmartPiggy bank is looking at an oracle, right? And if the contract is executed or matures, then the contract calls the oracle and then gets the price back and decides how much of the money goes to the holder of the contract and how much of the money goes to the underwriter, the creator of the SmartPiggy. And the reason why we wanted to go this route is that with oracles, you can do any underlying, right? You could do wheat in Nairobi, or fertilizer in South Africa, or gasoline at the corner of 59th and 7th in New York City, if that's still there, I don't know, or something like that, right? Whereas with open, right, these are real options, which is to say, you can only do options on assets that are on chain, right? Exchanging USDC for Ether. These are, physically settled on-chain assets, right? Whereas our intent was to allow anybody to create a custom contract for anything, anywhere, right? And for real-world assets. Oh, you're silent.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael.
Mhm.
Michael, I think in time, given the time, I'm going to. There's any more questions for Michael? Okay, thank you so much for presenting SmartPiggy, and share your thought of what in general about DeFi. Really appreciate. I think we're going to share the last the slide of the opinion poll about proof of work and proof of stake on screen, and I can. Okay, Sophia,
I'm getting, yeah.
Okay.
Thanks so much, Michael. Really appreciate it. And Thomas, again, thank you as well. I'm going to make Victor host again, and we're just going to go back to the Slido before we end off the meetup. Go ahead, Victor.
It says the host disable my screen sharing.
Okay, then let me.
If not, I can just read out the result. Okay.
1 second. You should be able
Okay.
to. Yeah, there you go. You should be able to do it now.
Okay, great. Okay, here's the result. I think we have 11 participants. Look like a majority is vote for proof of stake over proof of work. Any thoughts and comment on this result?
I'm not surprised.
Why you're not surprised? What makes you not surprised?
Because proof of stake is more accessible, but I'm just I might be inciting a war here by saying that.
Well, I mean, DeFi is like, it's really an Ethereum thing, no?
Yes, and that
yeah. Most of us, I think, are here for Ethereum or Ethereum related reasons, I would imagine.
Mm.
If it's this being a DeFi group, yeah.
But is this, okay, Ethereum, we DeFi most of Ethereum, that's true. Are we bullish on proof of stake is mainly because Ethereum want to use proof of stake to reduce their carbon footprint, or is fundamentally proof of stake is better or more secure than proof of work? Besides the energy consumption reason, there's any other reason make the proof of stake a better consensus mechanism?
Well, I guess maybe like I can like put in my 2 cents. I do vote for the proof of stake. And the way I see it is if you want the DeFi to take off, like you want the enterprise to jump on the bandwagon, not only the consumer. What is the enterprise they are looking for? I believe definitely saving energy, always on the mindset. Security is like a given. If you have no security, no one is going to use it. But then the one major part comparing the Bitcoin and the Ethereum is the speed of the transactions. So with the proof of stake, I think it starts to create a foundation for us to build a much faster transactions on top of this DeFi network platform. And so I don't think the proof of work you will eventually catch up with the similar transaction volume that the proof of stake can actually handle. And so eventually when the enterprise starts seeing the benefit of going into this Web3 DeFi, they're going to jump on the bandwagon. Once you have the first one jump on, the rest is going to start to jump on as well. And then this is where it's going to take off.
For proof of stake, the security provided per dollar spent is theoretically higher because you don't have the overhead costs that you have, and you can see that with Ethereum right now in the reduced and requirement for issuance. People are still happy to stake, and you're still by reducing the issuance and having higher fees from usage, you actually have net negative issuance. And but I think also in general, if you objectively look at it, like proof of stake has not run for as long as proof of work, so there's still some things to prove out to be able to concretely as firmly say yeah, it's better, not just on a theoretical point of view, but it's had a few years to operate and prove out that it actually did do what it was expected to do. And I think that the poll would have been very different if you went after kind of the entire crypto community rather than just DeFi people who are really into DeFi.
Yeah, James said that makes sense. Basically saying that theoretically proof of stake may be more secure, especially in terms of the security per dollar spent. But with a shorter time frame, shorter history, we cannot definitely say that proof of stake is more secure than proof of work. Time will tell. Are there any other thoughts? And also, there's any particular use case that the proof of work might make more sense than proof of stake, or everyone think that no matter what use case it is, well, proof of stake is always better?
I mean, I would say either could theoretically work, right? But I would say if you're looking for something objective, I would say proof of stake is winning by far, just because Ethereum is proof of stake. And if you look at like cryptofees.info and like the average day fees, right? Ethereum is smashing Bitcoin, right? In terms of like people paying to use the technology, like it's not even close, right? Just in terms of adoption.
Yeah, thanks, Michael, for that pointing out the crypto fee. Yeah, I like that indicator a lot too. Is basically, ultimately is, do user willing to pay a fee to use your network? That's an ultimate validation whether your network provide any as a service any valuable, right? I know there's some other Ethereum competitor. They say, oh well, our fee was so cheap and please use us. But ultimately, if people don't use it, it's not a good indicator of your value. It's almost like a retail space. So in Manhattan, if you run a store, a square foot retail space, it's probably very expensive compared to say a small town in Canada, the retail space very cheap. It even though it's more expensive, but people willing to pay, it shows that there is a higher usage or higher value to have that piece of real estate. So sometimes I try to think about the block space as a piece of real estate.
Yeah, even I think a lot of people like to discount that Bitcoin has less fees as they try to ignore that. But even the initial white paper points out that the fees need to go up and be able to replace the issuance. So literally by definition of the chart provided in the initial white paper, you need to produce those fees on the network so that you can pay for the security budget of having the miners continue to mine. And I think that if you look at technology in general and in previous technologies that come in, pointing out that a technology doesn't need a revenue source is one of the most common failures of things that people pick that they think will do well, and they say don't worry about the revenue, and then those are usually the things that fail, or rather than the things that were able to show some source of revenue that they were going to generate in the future.
Agree, makes sense. Any other people want to share their thought before closing? I
could shed some light on the cost of attack. So Bitcoin typically has this 51% attack, and there's this site crypto51.app. What it does is it tracks the cost to attack the Bitcoin network. Crypto51.app. Okay, that's in case you're typing. But what it says here is that to attack the Bitcoin network for 1 hour, which is basically 6 blocks, because each block is on average 10 minutes, it would cost $1.2 million. That is the cost of renting enough hash power to attack the Bitcoin network for 1 hour. And that is 6 blocks. But for the Ethereum network, if you want to attack even 1 block, you need to have at least 2/3 of the ETH that's being staked. So if currently 16.8 million ETH is staked, that's about $27 billion of ETH that is just staked, securing Ethereum. You need 2/3 of that. So about $18 billion you need to have to even attack 1 block on Ethereum. So in terms of security, attacking a block, not accounting for reorgs and stuff, definitely reorgs could happen, but even just theoretically, just attacking 1 block, it's much, much more harder on Ethereum than Bitcoin.
Victor, you're on mute.
Yeah, thank you, Jonathan, for sharing that. The website is good to compare the economic cost of a 51% attack. And my understanding from one of the speaker from Ethereum Foundation is saying that one of the main differences is in proof of work, you cannot identify which is the attacker. You cannot punish the attacker because their hardware is offline. It's not on chain, so you cannot burn their hardware in the machine. Where on proof of stake, you know exactly who is the attacker. You can just burn their stake token, so they cannot easily re-attack again. So that was an interesting difference between the proof of work, proof of stake. Okay. Any other question before we closing? Sophia, you want to close our session today?
Just if anyone is going to be going to a few global events there is ETH Denver coming up at the end of the month. Right here in Toronto, pretty much in Ontario, we do have the Canadian engineering competition as well. So whoever's going to that. But yeah, ETH Denver's coming up end of February. We do have Game Developer Conference coming up in March, which is in San Francisco. And then a few things down the line, there's NFT Paris Week, Art Basel coming up, Ethereum Rio, India Web3 Week in April, DAO Tokyo in April. And then right here in Toronto next month, we will have our in-person meetup as well at 111. Check out the meetup group and sign up if you want to come attend and see some really cool, more awesome speakers. So yeah, that's ready. That's pretty much for me. Victor, do you have anything else you want to add?
Thank you, Sophia, for MC the meeting, and that's all for today. I hope you see you all in our next in-person meetup.
Yep, and thank you again to all of our speakers for presenting today. We really appreciate it, Michael and Thomas. It was great. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Thomas. Yeah.
All right. Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.